like that. So whatever the kind of result is coming from backend, you should be able to map it with the required, or you can have Coco classes or whatever, right? You can map the results into some kind of C# object. So that was the main purpose. Since it is like this, you bare minimum things in place by default. Of course, there are some additional library that have been developed. You might have seen Dapper Lib or blah blah. They are like extension of this, but the typical you can say plain vanilla Dapper is still have very minimal things by default, and it does the basic operation that is required to you, and hence it is faster because it doesn't care so many things. It has like very less abstraction, or or very thin layer between your application and database layer. So that makes it faster. As I kind of brought a little bit earlier, the context that when query performance is very important for you, in some cases, yeah, it does play a very maybe clients or maybe internal your stakeholders care very much on that. Even why it is even a millisecond like slow than expected, you can say speed. Then of course you can think about Dapper because it can give you the best performance possibly in a given scenario. Of course, it comes with a cost. In terms of cost, when I say, I mean that your team members or you yourself should be well versed with writing complex SQL queries. Because complex, why I say, because in real world scenario, you will end up writing complex queries, and if you're not very well versed with that, maybe Dapper's you may not be able to take a good advantage of Dapper because may end up not even implementing, not be able to implement your requirements because in EF in the case of EF you may be able to write with link queries and everything, right? If team members are not well versed with SQL, or rather, let's say complex SQL, you can still live with it. But in this case, you yourself need to write queries. So it's a choice. Latest release version is, I put here that version 2.0.90, and it released late April this year. So it's not too late, maybe 20-30 days back. So it means that they are working continuously on newer features and making it more better. So that's what it tells. So this was at a high level what Dapper is. Let's comparison how it looks like in reality, right? So look at the first example. So this is a Dapper. If you notice a little bit difference that Dapper uses this plain vanilla, this IDB connection interface. So that it gives you, like, if you recall your AD.NET days, remember SQL connection class, right? So it uses basically behind the scene, you can see AD.NET classes, so that it is, it is, you can say, it is very thin in that nature. It is not creating additional layers to compromise the speed, okay? And then there is a SQL, the regular SQL is out there. You need to write SQL in Dapper yourself, as I said. And then the mapping thing comes in. If you look at here, product is so basically this, the result of this query is going to be sitting into the, you can say, this products, that is that kind of going to be kind of list of products. So this will have a list of all the, that product that the database will send you into the products variable. This is how it's going to map, and of course the regular print statements. So if I were to do this in, let's say, EFCore3, there isn't much difference in 3 and 5, but it is on 3, by the way, this benchmarking. So this 3, if you look at the syntax difference, right? So syntax, of course, became little more simpler as as happens with Microsoft philosophy anyway. So they try to make it simpler for you. They gave you context class, right? They said it is kind of combination of repository and network framework. So it gives you far more flexibility. You just write context. It will give you, okay, it has products. It will pull up anyway all the table in terms of classes. And tool list, as we know, when tool list executes, the actual operations happens. So all the products will sit into the products variable, same variable naming for simplicity purposes, and it will you can do that. If you want optimized basically version of EF code, if you want to take best, if the requirement is as I said performance over flexibility, then you may go with as no tracking attribute. What it does is that it stops the tracking on that entity basically. So what tracking means that change tracking, right? You can relate to what was my previous value, what's my new value. So it keeps checking whatever uh, developers can relate to, like dirty object, right? Something model become dirty, so it keeps checks that okay, is it the state of my variable is still same when I kind of loaded it, or it got become dirty means somebody changed it. So like that, EF also behind the scene keeps doing that, and it comes with a cost, right? Any attribute you try to use, it comes with a cost, and the cost here is that basically it will slow down your execution, right? So if you do not need such requirement, you can go, you can put the entity name and put as no tracking. So it will stop doing that, and it will give you faster performance. We'll have benchmarking numbers in next slide, so you can see yourself. So it is a benchmarking. I have put the reference in the reference page. You can look at yourself later. So it is benchmarking done on two samples, so 2,000 records and 2 lakhs record on 3 different, you can say, variations. So one is Dapper, and one is EFCore, which change tracking, like default scenario. By default, it comes with change tracking. And EFCore when you have put like third one, dot as no tracking, right, like that. So there are 3 samples, and you can look at yourself, right, that Dapper is kind of still doing great job out of even better than EFCore with no tracking. Although the difference of EFCore no tracking and Dapper is very minimal, so hence I said that if you want to play, you can say best of both worlds, then try to use EFCore with no tracking whenever you can do that, or wherever you can do that. In some cases, maybe you want to do the change tracking, so have your assessment done. What are different entities you care about having change tracking on them? If yes, then yeah, go ahead. Don't switch it off, but if not, try to switch it off so that it is not slowing your query execution. So this is what the benchmarking. Now you may say that okay, fine, but what if my company says me, my architects are like having a mandate that okay, no, we'll not use Dapper. We are Microsoft Shop, and we have no option to use Dapper. So in those cases, as I said, the best case is that EFCore and switching it off, like change tracking wherever possible. What are the other things that you can look into? So as I said, the first thing, as no tracking, you also look into the benchmarking numbers, that it does make a difference, right? Some other regular tips that you otherwise might have heard or already known, but just a quick refresher. Try to move data heavy, or it's like a lot of data is coming and joins and manipulating data into the procedures instead of writing into the in memory, because I have seen myself actually that if you have a lot of data and you're doing a lot of joins in C#, it slows down your application speed very very badly actually. I have seen myself. So the good advice is, if you can do that, if it is there is no restriction on using source procedures, so take advantage of source procedure. They're basically there for some purpose, and the purpose is like if you want to have a data heavy operations, so apart from we all know, right, it's a classic thing that it does some compilation and it is faster, right? It also has some other benefits in terms of this network cost, right, that goes from application to the database. So that also can be saved, back and forth network. So in turn, you get better performance when you keep your data heavy operations in the procedure instead of in the application, right? And it also takes away a lot of complex code into the from application to the backend. So it also kind of simplifies your application. Try to add custom queries. So you know, if you want to have optimize queries, if you're good at writing queries, right, you should take that. You should rely more on your you can say optimized queries rather than let EF create a one for me, right? In some cases, of course, you may running out of time and just want to become lazy with a purpose. Then yeah, you can let EF core do the job for you, but you know, be cognizant of the fact that it may also it may not give you the best query possible. So it may give you maybe you can say mediocre kind of queries. It will do the job, but it may not be as efficient as when you could have written yourself, provided you understand the basic query optimization techniques and you're that. So other thing is, like, I have seen some people, despite they just need one record, they just kind of go ahead and start using list-based constructs, right? Think about it. EF doesn't know that. It may create very ugly SQL. When I say ugly, I mean very complex SQL, and basically it may again kind of may not give you best speed, right? So if you know for sure that this is, instead of saying some object uh, bracket 0, why you kind of, what are you not pulling the single record at first place, right? So you should avoid list-based construct wherever possible. Of course, if there is a requirement, you should use it, but if not, then don't use the list-based construct, right? Last one is use general best coding practices. EF is just one part of it, but if you're looking for comprehensive, robust application speed, there are a bunch of other things that you should be using, whether it's like parallel link or any task-based operation. There is like use of background threads is more popularized. So there are that can be a separation on regular application kind of coding practices. But what I'm trying to say that EF is just one part of it. There are a bunch of other things that also kind of make sense. So you should not forget the other best coding practices or recommended coding practices yourself. So that's what I had, guys. I have added here reference which I myself referred and learned a little bit or revised a little bit. So thanks for your time, and for additional queries that you may have, you may put on this tweet, and I generally respond faster on this tweet if somebody can try to approach me. Okay. Thanks for your time. Swami, over to you.
Hey Prakash, thanks for the session. But for some reason, what happened is, like Terry, he pointed out, only one slide was appearing. We don't know, for some reason the slides were not changing. Even I didn't observe until Terry told this point. Just now I observed it. Yeah, and we have one couple of questions. Yeah, with one, all the three was from Krishna itself. So Krishna was asking about if the performance is key focus. I mean, I think the two questions are related. I just want to call out those two questions and start answering. So if first question, if performance is key focus, what type of ORM we should consider? And the second question is, for example, I mean, I think that's an extension. For example, for B2C application, there would be a huge transactions. Any advice?
Yeah. So my advice
couple
would be
of
that.
things. So my point is, it's the question itself is like a generic question. I mean,